This is the Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast.
The following contest is scheduled for one fall.
Let's go nuts! It's Jimmy Nuts! Drive out with a car!
With your hosts, Mark Martinez.
Remember, just because you're trash doesn't mean you can't do great things.
And the English Professor.
It's called a garbage can, not a garbage cannot.
Hey, this is former WWE superstar Duke, the Dumpster Drosy, and you are listening to the Can Crushers Podcast.
And welcome back to another Can Crushers episode. This one I've been personally waiting for a hell of a long time. Welcome to the show. Joining myself, Mark Martinez, is the guru, Mr. Chad Piranha, and the English Professor, John Padlano. Guys, how are you?
Morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Another day in quarantine, living the life.
I thought we lost Chad to the mute button again.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah, another quarantine episode. Again, I don't want to sound like a broken record or anything. These are going to be like this for a while. Foreseeable future as well if you watch everything coming around on the news. But I really... Okay, we can just deal with that later. This is an episode that I really want to power through the weekly stuff because, guys, we have 25 people, not questions, 25 people submitting questions to Ask Can Crushers. This was a crazy week for me on social media. Shit just coming around all over the place. Boom, 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 boom. And you wait to hear from some of these people. I never would have thought of some of these, and that's why they're in the business. I'll leave it at that.
Interesting. So we have questions from people that work in the industry.
Yeah. Chad's,
Oh, wow. All right.
Chad is really still sleeping.
Good.
We're good, Chad.
All right, let's jump on NWA right off the bat because they put out a little snippet about Camille, her first match, and she got to talk. I loved it. I really did. I loved who her opponent was because I actually know Maddie Max from OVW. She was at the Combine. Chad and I saw Maddie Max against Tessa. Well, working a stick with Tessa, I'll put it that way, at WrestleCade. So Maddie's around now, and this was a perfect opponent for Camille to destroy, and she did.
I enjoyed the heck out of this. It was not the voice or accent I expected to go with Camille. I don't know much about her. I found out through watching that she was part of the Lingerie Football League. She's a big, strong lady, great powerhouse type moves. That avalanche in the corner with both arms looked brutal. It was a good win for her. And it was good character development in that we get her past, we get where she is now, why she's made the decision she's made, where she wants to be in the future. I like the whole thing about her hitting home runs and just crushing softball records and all the other mommies of all the other little girls not liking it because their little girls don't get the playtime. So this wasn't about some of the stories we've seen in the past where someone is kept down and looked down upon. She was just so much better than everybody that she was prevented from being her very best. Now in the world of pro wrestling, if you can kick ass, have at it. So she is in her element now. There's no one that can keep her back.
Yeah, everything John said, and the only thing I could add on to that is it was good to see motivation and storytelling versus just throwing somebody in there.
Agreed. Chad, we actually got time last year at the Crockett Cup to speak with Camille, and she is a lovely young lady, well-spoken. She was very nice with us. She was sitting right next to Aldous. personable as well. You know, throw the wrestling out. She was very personable.
Well, that's not what I got from
Yeah,
the promo, though. I got that she was a terrible person, that she's mean and vicious, and people don't like her, in her own words. Are you sure you're talking about the same person?
Yeah, Chad, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, Chad, I interrupted.
Oh, she was. Oh no, she was an absolute doll. She, very spoken, which is what caught me off. And I say she's a big girl. She's not. She looks a hell of a lot bigger in person than she does on the TV. I mean, she's stacked. She's cut.
She's stacked in the back, and she wants to thank her mother for a butt like that. If looks could kill, she would be an Uzi. Right, John?
Oh, my God.
That's John's favorite song, by the way, Shoop. If anybody wants to send him anything, John loves Shoop.
I do. I love Salt and Pepper until Mark starts singing it. Then I hate them.
So I agree with John. Great story development there with Camille. We know where this is going to be going once NWA comes back. I imagine she's going to have to win her way up the rankings. I struggle with Allison Kay a little bit, but I think she may be the next NWA champion.
And no friends either. She had a stare down with Rosa. She's got the situation with Allison Kay. So she's clearly a heel, but kind of riding that in-between line where she doesn't care who her opponent is. And her daddy told her, you better never start a fight. You better damn well finish one, though.
And we did finish.
I think her and Rosa are going to be a good.
Go ahead.
I think her and Rosa are going to be a good match for each other. I think they'll be able to tell a story because the size difference is going to play into both of their strengths as far as Rosa's ability, moving around and everything, and Camille's power. Rosa's big enough to where she can take the power moves and stuff like that. I think that's going to be a really good match down the road.
And I lost my train of thought. Oh, that's what, and we did finish one thing, as John brought around. We finished our coolest Can Crusher gimmick award tournament. I'd mess this up, John. Roddy Piper.
Can Crusher's coolest gimmick tournament.
Yeah.
5 words, Mark. 5 words. That's all I asked you to memorize.
Roddy Piper getting the win over The Undertaker easily as well. Were you shocked? All 3 of us predicted that The Undertaker was probably going to end up in the finals, but I didn't expect him to lose to Piper, and I'll leave it at that.
This was the closest I've come to making an accurate prediction of who would win.
In your life?
Undertaker. Yeah. Undertaker is the coolest gimmick. Anyway, Roddy Piper got hot at the right time and maybe found the right opponents along the way. I was shocked by this. It was close for a while. There was a point, I think people voted into the night because late on the first day, it may have been tied. It was pretty darn close. And then during the course of the night, Piper ran away with it. I was surprised.
Chad may be frozen in time.
There he is.
Oh, no, I'm here. I was waiting for you, Mark, because John was coming up on the thing, and it's screwed things up. No, I expected The Undertaker to win it. I mean, he has the best gimmick. The only thing is Piper might have seemed more realistic just because of the type of person that he was.
Touche. Good point. All right, let's transition over to, let's rattle off WWE real quick, and then we'll talk about AEW. Who wants to start with WWE this week?
Yeah, I'll be happy to. As far as Raw goes, I'll tell you just a few things I liked. I enjoyed Charlotte Flair's match. There you go. That's for you, Chad. Against, what was her name? Kaden Carter? Something to that effect.
From NXT, yep.
NXT, yeah. I was reminded of a Shawn Michaels interview he did from when he was talking about when he was really young. I wish I could remember the territory. Might have been Mid-South, but he's wrestling Ted DiBiase. Michaels was enhancement talent at the time. DiBiase told him, you're going to get 3 moves. They're all going to be pins, and it's going to make the people believe that you could have beaten me. So I think DiBiase went for a backdrop, and Michaels got a sunset flip. 2 almost 3, small package, 2 almost 3, maybe a roll-up. Almost got to 3, and then he got his ass whipped. Carter really took it to Charlotte Flair and made you believe she had a chance to win. And then Charlotte Flair, being Charlotte Flair, eventually wins the match. I also liked Nia Jax versus Kairi Sane. Tenacious, Kairi Sane. Their promos are always hilarious. I don't know what the hell they're saying, but they are completely committed to it. The Kabuki Warriors, they're fun to watch. I like Baszler's match against Indy Hartwell. She's breaking arms, and I told you guys that loss at Mania was not going to hurt her. She is still coming back tougher than ever. And I would like to see more of Garza and Andrade. But I don't get what they're doing with these guys, with Vega's team. They kind of get buried a little bit. I mean, Andrade won his match, but other than that, her whole faction gets treated like bitches. And then she's not married to Aleister Black, apparently, in the world of professional wrestling. That's only real life, because she did everything she could to distract him and try to get him to lose his match. I thought SmackDown, other than Evans and Sasha Banks, was absolutely the shits. Just garbage. I expected no less than greatness from Lacey Evans and Sasha Banks. I think that's what we got. I would still like to see some of the heelish tactics of Lacey Evans, because Razor, he used to throw his toothpicks. Whether he was a good guy or a bad guy, he flicked his toothpicks. Lacey should still wipe her armpits, wipe her nose, whatever, and throw it in her opponent's face when the time presents itself. I'd like to see that come back. And I like the story they're building with Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman, kind of tapping into their past. And the last 30 minutes was This Is Your Life with Triple H. For weeks we've been hearing, my husband. Oh, she's so stupid. I just want to kick her in her stupid face. Her dad's even worse. He came out for that segment, Mark. I don't know what the hell he's saying. And then you showed your ass. And Triple H is fake laughing. It was so phony, Mark. It was so phony, I couldn't take a second of it. Shawn Michaels and Triple H, they're not funny like they think they are anymore. It's not 1996. Give it a rest. I can't stand these guys anymore. 25 minutes, 30 minutes of talent you could have shown to the people, and you chose this guy and his egomaniac father-in-law.
Okay, first of all, let me say, after we get done with this segment, we got to call Chad back. Clearly, he's having technical difficulties on, and we need him on for the Ass Can Crutcher part of the show. But you just did probably one of your best Vince McMahons, and I need to start cutting these because the whole whatever the hell you just did was epic. I agree with you. I wrote down what the WTF about the Kabuki Warriors. That was awesome. I don't know what the hell they're doing, but Asuka doing a little dance and she's walking out like Mr. Roboto. I loved it. And then she turned into an Egyptian from the Bengals. Yes, this is good. I actually didn't care about the Kairi Sane Jax rematch, whatever. The thing that pissed me off the most, though, on Raw, and then I'll transition over to SmackDown, the Viking Raiders, carpool karaoke, stop showing stuff. These guys are supposed to be able to eat birds out of the air and do all this random stuff that, hey, Chad's back. Good. I don't have to call you back. I'm bitching about the Viking Raiders, Chad, and how they're supposed to be so tough. And all they were doing were just like screaming, Viking Raiders. It was like they're in a high school gymnasium. Viking Raiders. It's just putrid. At least Chad's laughing. Go ahead. Somebody.
Oh, my God. Yeah, Viking Raiders. That's almost as bad as, well, I can't even say it.
All right. You missed Raw, so we're going to transition me and you over to SmackDown because John just went off on a tangent. I almost threw up in my mouth when I saw that Lucha House Party was going to get a shot at New Day, and then later on in the night they actually end up beating Miz and Morrison. I want almost every tag team in SmackDown to break up because if they haven't been tag team champions, they don't need to be around. I'm sick of them. And you're right, John. The only thing that was good was Sasha and Lacey. But I don't know. It's setting up for really what we know. It's going to be Sasha and Bayley at SummerSlam. They gave us more details about the corporate ladder match. Guys, I'm actually intrigued a little bit more. It is going to turn out to be a Chamber of Horrors, House of Hell, whatever match. But if they do it cinematically, I think it's going to be better than Abdullah Busher pushing up and down on the lever switch each time he wants it to work.
It will be better than that. I'll make that prediction.
Hey, what was wrong with Abby getting electrocuted?
It was that he turned it on and off himself 6 times before he got electrocuted.
Kept falling into the on position. Yeah, I think this will be better. I think WWE doesn't have to worry about competing with that match. I'm pretty sure of that.
All right, let's transition over to AEW. We'll give these guys a few minutes to themselves, and then, damn it, I want to get to these questions. I really do.
All right.
The Cody promo was great to start. I loved Jericho and Tony Schiavone should just do this whole thing by themselves. Nothing against JR and Excalibur, but man, I love these two together. And the Sammy G and Darby match stole the show for me. I can watch these guys battle the rest of my life.
I agree. That was probably my favorite match of the night. I'm surprised the Spanish God keeps losing matches. And we saw him win 1 or 2 weeks ago. It's funny, though. It doesn't hurt his standing in this faction that is dedicated to greatness and championships. Like, you know, how many matches would Luger have to lose before the Horsemen were like, you know what, you need to go? But that's not what these guys are all about. They love Sammy Guevara, whether he wins or loses. Jericho, I had that note too. Jericho and Schiavone. And I put question marks after this because I want to know what you guys think. If I'm crazy, if I'm way off the mark here. Jericho and Schiavone, Monsoon and Heenan, Monsoon and Ventura, McMahon and Ventura, they're that good in my book. Jericho doesn't have the wit Heenan does. Nobody does. To come up with what, you know, although to a certain extent, he keeps making fun of that Pineapple Pete. He can kind of make fun of what people are wearing. But nobody's Bobby Heenan. Nobody's Bobby Heenan. Jericho is close, though. I'm enjoying listening to him. The only thing I'll say about AEW, I didn't buy the I keep saying Cody, the Dustin Rhodes match with his career on the line. I think Cody's a good actor when they showed his concern for his brother at the beginning. I think the match was fine. I never for 1 second thought Dustin was going to lose that match. I thought it was just something to kind of build drama for one episode. But I didn't buy it.
Go ahead, Chad.
The best line Jericho had the whole night was when he called that guy a pumpkin-headed freak.
Yes.
There is nothing that Jericho cannot do and cannot do well. We're not talking half-assing something. We're talking somebody that's, you know, in the top tier of everything that he does. So that tells you what I think of the commentating with him and Schiavone. And I got to agree, obviously the match of the night, Darby Allin and the Tongue Boy Guevara, great match. Kind of buying into what John said about as many matches as Guevara has lost. I'm thinking that's going to come around and be a sticking point when the inner circle kind of implodes.
Good point. Another
So
shot.
it's good to see Wardlow.
I was just saying,
Shout out to Wardlow.
another shout out that I have to be made is Wardlow taking on Lee Johnson and then decimating him. But did you guys also know who was at ringside only for the Wardlow match? Britt Baker.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Only for the Wardlow match, she came out to support her IWC, Brevlin, Buddy, alumni, however you want to put it. But Wardlow all day long, baby. He is looking great.
And they know what they're doing. Khan and Jericho and the Bucks, they gave us Western Pennsylvania people a little treat there by putting her in the crowd during his match.
Did you guys also see the statement that Britt released, where Tony Khan said he doesn't have a problem at all with her being on, NXT or whatever in the crowd and stuff like that? Something to the effect of, I don't run a prison here.
Yeah, I actually posted that on Facebook, and there's a follow-up coming, I think tomorrow morning, because I have so much actually scheduled, and I'll release it right now. Britt actually asked permission to go to NXT, and what was the Survivor Series, was it? I think him and Ciampa went to, I think it was Survivor Series. That's where Britt was caught, this, that, and the other thing, and she was always asking, and Khan said, hey, we don't run a prison. Go support your boyfriend, fiance, pretty much husband here in the time. Now it's been documented that, Renee Young does the show WWE Backstage Tuesday nights, and she's in quarantine. Well, guess who walked by her webcam the other night and just said, hi, guys, to the camera and walked away? Jon Moxley. Renee Young is getting flack on this now that Moxley just said hi to a webcam. So two different aspects. Tony Khan, go support your husband, Adam, boyfriend, whatever, before I get in trouble. Adam Cole, where the
Take it easy, Mark. They're not there yet.
Yeah.
Let them get where they need to go on their own without you pushing anything on them.
Valentine's was a couple of months ago, Mark. Get off of it.
WWE, Jon Moxley can't even look at a web camera, and Renee Young's getting her ass slapped because you're not allowed. You don't cross anything. No. Everybody's doing a Big Smith band today, by the way.
Is that the right way to say what you just said about them, Mark?
About what?
About Renee Young getting her ass slapped by Moxley?
No, I said she's getting her ass slapped by WWE. God.
Oh, okay.
It's
She
such
actually
bullshit.
got her head kicked off in that one video because she was playing games with toilet paper.
Her TikTok, yeah.
You guys remember the Monday Night Wars DX?
No, I never saw those.
You didn't see those?
No.
It's such bullshit, man. What they're doing. They're married. They live together. Relax. There's a part of me that is really enjoying the crossover because I'm a wrestling nerd. I mentioned earlier the Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman recap of their history together. You see quick flashes of Brody Lee in the background. I can't tell you which promotion is pushing, because they're both pushing Hardy Brothers right now, but I can't remember who did the vignette. But obviously you can't show one without the other, so it's pretty cool. It's a past. It's a history that exists. You can't ignore it, which is why I mentioned earlier it's such an insult when we know Zelina Vega and Aleister Black are together, and you're purposely going to throw it in our face and act like it doesn't exist.
Chad, any thoughts? Because I want to get to ask questions. I'm excited.
Well, I'll just say that Vince isn't. If there is 5 seconds of attention to another wrestler from another company, Vince thinks he's losing millions of dollars that he's eventually going to blow on the XFL or whatever, something like that. And that's the way he is. He doesn't care. As far as he's concerned, he's the only wrestling thing. He doesn't care because he's an egocentric prick. Just like he released earlier this week, the reasons that the Raw and SmackDown ratings are down is because of the new talent we're having on the show. No, it's because your shows suck.
Now, one other quick thing. I know you're Jones and Mark. Britt said that Triple H and Stephanie both apologized. They hope they didn't get her in any trouble. They didn't know she was the one on camera. I have seen enough Scott Hall shoots where he says that Vince's camera guys, Hunter's camera people, are the very best in the business. Nothing happens by accident. They know right where to go and when. Britt said, did I buy it? I don't know, but that was nice of them. Atta girl, Britt.
Atta girl, Britt. All right.
Yep.
You know where I'm going to go to, guys. Collar and elbow. I talk about my favorite shirt each week. Well, I have my Blue World Order shirt underneath my hoodie right now. It's freaking freezing up here again, by the way, in Pennsylvania. It's probably going to snow again tomorrow, but nonetheless, I have my Blue World Order shirt on underneath my Detroit Tiger hoodie, and it's comfortable. We love them. John, what shirt do you have from Collar and Elbow?
It's the Mean Gene. I told you I have the regular Collar and Elbow that they were nice enough to kind of throw in there as a free gift, you guys. But I've also got my Mean Gene Okerlund Collar and Elbow T-shirt.
We need to get Chad one. We really do. Maybe the next order, I will have to persuade Al Snow with maybe a koozie or something. I don't know, a sticker maybe. Maybe I'll send somebody down to hang out with Al Snow. But guys, check out collarandelbow.com. All their new gear's out. My favorite is still the Purple Macho Man one with head inside the glasses. I love it. And when you check out, use the promo code CANCRUSHERS. Capital C in can, capital C in Crushers. I'm not going to let these two say anything. I'm going right now. We're coming back with Ask Can Crushers because I'm excited. See you in a bit.
Wrestling. A love and a passion we all share. I've started a wrestling brand. The wrestling brand. A brand founded on the aspects of wrestling. Two entities working together to create a product that connect emotionally for people everywhere. Collar and Elbow is the brand. Passion and love for wrestling is the drive. I am Al Snow, and this is Collar and Elbow, the wrestling brand.
Hey everybody, this is Gilbert, WWF's longest reigning light heavyweight champion. And you're listening to Can Crushers Podcast, the best guys there are out there.
And welcome back to Can Crushers. It's now time for Ask Can Crushers. We've been planning this for about, Chad, what do you think, month and a half or so? That we just said, hey, send some questions to the email, send them to Instagram, Facebook. Guys, continue to do that. We have about 25 today, but we'll continue to keep them in the hopper. And in about a month when we do this should be a monthly show. Are you guys okay with this?
Yeah, of course.
Sounds like fun.
Sounds like fun. You're super fucking excited tonight, Chad. Let me tell you. It's like you just got up off of a bender weekend, or maybe you just Xanaxed out or something. I have no clue what you're doing today, but okay.
Neither do I most days, but we'll work with it.
All right, so the first question is the least important question. It's from the Rated X Can Crusher, Pat Lapino. He wants us to talk about the release people, and there's a piggyback to this because Curtis, once I find his question, I didn't write them in order like I should. He wants us to know where you think some of the talent's going to go. And then to follow it up, Cyril, our boy, Cyril Yorns, checked in and said, why do you think some of these people were released? Was it because their salaries are too big, Vince is an asshole, marketing, talent-wise? And then Cyril has a follow-up after we talk about this. So let's start with that. Let's start with Chad first. And we've talked about the release people last week, but let's talk about maybe 5 or 6 of them. And John, you have to stick with the same 5 or 6. Where do you think they're going to go? So I'm going to give you guys all an easy layup first. Zack Ryder, where do you think he's going?
AEW.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
EC3.
NWA.
I agree. Yeah, I don't think he's an AEW guy.
No? Okay.
Yeah.
Drake Maverick.
I think he's going to go to AEW. I think he'd be a good addition on the lightweight side, Guevara, Darby Allin class.
That's a great point. I didn't see that. I've been surprised by what AEW has been able to do with WWE's Castaways. But I don't know. I don't see him making that leap. I don't know where he goes.
I will interject when I have something different from you guys, kind of. I think Drake goes back to Impact. I think he's loved there. He just went for the money at WWE. I think he can go back now to Impact and then just stir the pot a little bit more and bring Impact maybe to number 3 again or something. I don't know.
Okay. Good point.
The OC, meaning Gallows and Anderson.
NWA for a bit and then AEW.
I don't think AEW lets this get away. These guys are very, very good, and they were underutilized. I think they make they more than anyone else make the quick jump to AEW.
I disagree with both of you. I think they both go back to New Japan. They were so over in New Japan, and they just crush it over there again. That's just my thought.
Okay.
But remember with them going to New Japan, they'll be able to wrestle
Anywhere.
in other places. So that's what I'm thinking. They've gone on record as saying they don't want to sign a long-term contract right off the bat. So that, to me, kind of takes them out of AEW for a little bit.
That's interesting. I was thinking along the lines of, if you're an American athlete and you have the opportunity to stay in the States, would you still go overseas? But, maybe they would.
Heath Slater.
Home.
Okay.
Man, I can't disagree. I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't know where this guy goes.
He does some indie shows. He's going to be able to do some indie shows. Maybe I'd be all right hanging out with him at IWC, or maybe he pops into OVW. Guys, I'm telling you, you have to think like outside the box a little bit. He could be an awesome trainer helping Al out in OVW or MLW. I mean, he's long in the business. All right, everybody hates that he has kids or whatever, but I think he's got something. I really do. This is the one that is it should piss both of you off. No Way Jose. You don't care. Neither one of you care.
No, I'll say this. The guy's got, after reading his interview, he's got a decent mind. He knew this was just garbage. This was just going to bury him. He said there's a ceiling to this. I really don't know what the guy has, because he was stuck in this stupid thing where he danced around and then got his ass whipped in no time. So I don't know what this guy's capable of doing. I think he's going to be on the independent scene. I think maybe we see him in IWC at some point. I don't see him making a jump to Impact or to AEW or even the NWA. He's got to prove himself.
I think he's gonna get repackaged. Thank God. I think he's gonna show up in Ring of Honor.
Oh wow! All right, I have 2 more, and I have 3 more. I lied. Sarah Logan.
AEW.
NWA. They need some women. I don't think she's an AEW wrestler.
I have to agree with NWA because the same reason John said, but she's going to have to pay for her 90 days. They talked about her a lot on Raw. She's going to come back and they're going to try to bury her. I really think so. After the 90 days, she's just going to be pushed aside. And I would love her to come back as Crazy Mary Dobson and help out Thunder Rosa when Rosa's going to need the help the most.
Absolutely. That's a great point. That's not a knock. I'm not trying to knock NWA at all where I say she's not an AEW wrestler, because we saw Rosa and Kay have a match of the year candidate. I just think she fits that style and what they've got in mind better than what the women's division looks like in AEW.
Next one is Deonna Purrazzo.
I say NWA.
I say AEW. She fits the Britt Baker kind of style of wrestling.
I could see both, so I can't disagree with either. I could see both. Deonna linked to Marty, who's linked to ROH, who's linked to NWA, but in retrospect, Deonna, really close friends with Britt. I'm sure Britt made a phone call already. So, all right, last one that we're going to talk about this, and then we'll transition kind of into Cyril's question. Rusev, where's it going?
Monster to AEW.
Anywhere he damn well pleases. I love this guy. He can be funny. He can be a monster heel. He can do whatever he wants to do. Anybody would be wise to pick him up.
And it's a Cyril's question now. How do you think Vince made the choices to get rid of these people? Money, marketing. He's completely lost his mind on some of them. What group them all together? I don't want you to break them all up again, but group them all together. What do you think Vince really thought? And let's start with John.
I think it was a financial decision. I think he can be emotional sometimes. He can be egotistical, but I think it's a financial decision. Times are really, really tough. The roster's it was way, way too big. Just too many athletes. You can't have that many people on a roster. Simply a financial decision.
I think it's a mix of a couple of them. Financial, that many people, just by this the sheer number. Some of them, he's, beaten and regurgitated and changed and everything like that, that there's zero credibility for anything they do. I'll throw Rusev in that. Some of them he'll just never use, and he doesn't. He looks down on them.
Great points. All right, Cyril's got a follow-up question that's got nothing to do with wrestling, and I want to know what you guys think. He wants to know who throws a better garbage can, myself or the old co-host, Paul Bullers. Now, let me preference this is Paul got crushed in the face this past week with a garbage can full of paint that he threw himself. So, all right, let me say that. Who throws a better garbage can?
Go ahead, Chad.
Well, if you go finesse and style, you'd have to give it to Mark. Sheer brutality, probably Paul.
So you've both gotten smashed in the face.
Yeah.
Mark, you got smashed in the face by somebody else. Was it Paul that threw the can that hit you in the face?
Yeah.
Or was it somebody else?
No, it was Paul.
It was Paul. So at least you got hit by somebody else. You had no control over that. Paul hit himself in the face.
Right.
Dude, I got to go with you, Mark, not just because you're here. I love Paul. I miss Paul, but how the hell do you hit yourself in the face?
Right. All right, let me give you a question from somebody in the business. This is a good question. Kind of, maybe not wrestling related, but wrestling related. This question came from Remy LeVay from IWC, the Mind Eraser, part of the Culmination.
Oh, cool.
Remy Remy wants to know if we could collaborate with any other podcast. What podcast would it be? We all three of us get picks. So, Chad, you can go first.
I would say with Brian Last, 605pod.com. I mean, he works with so many other people. All of his shows are so good, so consistent, and the mind that he has for wrestling, I'd absolutely love to work with him.
Being an English professor, as I am, I listen to a little show across the pond. You'd think I'd remember the name of it, but it's something to do with ringing a bell or ring the bell or the sound of the bell. I swear to God, I've listened to these guys, and you'd think I'd remember the name, but they're a cool bunch.
Well, I will get to them here in a minute now that you made me transition into that question, but I don't want to say anybody huge. I really don't. I like working with marks like us. There's two that I actually would really like to have all three podcasts sit down. One is the other guys that cover IWC. They're called Dark Match Podcast. They're really cool guys. I'd like to do something with them, maybe at an IWC level. And then, actually, we have worked on the OVW level with somebody, and that is Ringside Podcast. So that would be cool. But John did bring up somebody else that's across the pond that let's work with these guys too, and they are Ring the Bell Podcast.
I was right. Okay.
They actually sent a question in for us too, and this one,
wow.
I'm just going to send it to you guys, okay? This is I didn't do homework because just to keep it a little bit shorter. Ring the Bell Podcast wants to know, how would you book an event, 2005 versus 2020 WWE, and let's just kind of call it WrestleMania, and let's throw out like 4 matches. So I don't know where the hell Chad went, but let's start with John then.
Okay. So 2005 versus right now. I would book, surprise, surprise, from the year 2020, NXT Women's Champion Charlotte Flair.
Jesus.
Versus, listen, Trish Stratus, right? You guys shutting up now, right? Trish Stratus versus Charlotte Flair in a submission match, a la Stone Cold versus Bret Hart. So no pinfalls, no countouts, no disqualifications. Submission match, Trish Stratus versus Charlotte Flair. Since this is the realm of make-believe, it's professional wrestling, and we've seen crazy stuff this year with funhouse matches. Why not do this? And we've seen this very match, Undertaker versus Undertaker. So I would do Undertaker from 2005 and Undertaker from this year versus his 2 opponents from those respective years, Randy Orton and AJ Styles. All right. I would do this year's Kevin Owens versus the 2005 version of John Cena. I just think it would be a really good match. I think the crowd would be into it. And then this is the big one for me. I would take 4 of the guys that were in the Money in the Bank ladder match in 2005. I would take Edge, Christian, Chris Benoit, and Chris Jericho and call them the Canadian Connection, or the Canadian Destroyers.
Okay, good.
All right. Against 4 sort of cerebral, kind of dark-minded people. They would go up against 2020's Aleister Black, Randy Orton, Fiend, and Seth Rollins in an 8-man tag team match.
So you have Randy Orton wrestling 2 matches?
What? Yeah.
Okay. I like it. I like it, Chad. What do you got?
Thanks.
Okay, first real quick throwing in here, ring announcers. We can't just go with wrestlers. Lillian Garcia and Howard Finkel.
Deal.
On commentary, Jerry Lawler and Jim Ross. Backstage interviews, Renee Young and Josh Matthews.
Wow. In
That's
depth.
brilliant so far. I like it.
Okay, first match, War Games match beyond the old style. Benoit, Guerrero, Jericho, Edge, and RVD against Adam Cole, Keith Lee, Samoa Joe, Cesaro, and Bray Wyatt.
Damn.
Nice.
Survivor Series match, $100,000 to the winner. Lita, Trish, Beth Phoenix, Victoria, and Christy Hemme against Asuka, Sasha, Becky Lynch, Charlotte, and Bayley.
I like it.
Best in World Tag Team Elimination, Benjamin and Haas, APA, Bradshaw and Simmons, Legion of Doom and the Dudleys against the Undisputed Era, New Day, Usos, and Kane and the Undertaker.
How long is your event? Because you've had like 75 people per match. Holy shit.
Well, I wanted to kind of get as many people in as possible in matches that I thought would be interesting and could tell a lot of stories between the years.
I wasn't watching closely. Was LOD? You said Legion of Doom?
They were.
I hate to be an idiot. Was Hawk, had Hawk passed away yet by that point?
It was a couple of months. It was in 2005 actually.
Okay.
From what I found last night. And the last one, star-studded, Batista, Flair, Michaels, Triple H, Booker, Cena, Angle, Brett, Rock, and Mysterio against Orton, Strowman, AJ Roman, Owens, Seth Rollins, Lesnar, Big Show, and Sami Zayn.
So what the hell is that? A battle royal? First pin of all wins? What is that? Gauntlet match?
It's a battle royal. Oh, I even scripted this shit out.
Well, if you send it over to John, he'll take pictures of it with all his wrestling figures, and the whole event will be put up on Facebook here within the next week.
That's an idea.
My son's been doing the same thing, but I'm going to sound like a total dickwad here, but it sounds like something my son would book, like AJ Styles and Booker T and Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens and.
All right.
It's awesome, Chad. That is incredible. I'm just being a jerk because that one just kicks my card's ass.
Clearly. All right. So Mrs. Can Crusher was actually one of the first ones to send in a question, and if I don't get it on when she does listen to this, and if I don't say thank you, honey, for submitting this, I'll get kicked in the nuggets. So, and it's actually a good one. I'll actually answer this one. She wants to know if we could switch lives with a wrestler for, she said a day, but I'm going to say a week. For 1 week, who would you want to be for 1 week? John, go first.
Holy cow. That is a tough question. At first I'm thinking the obvious, Ric Flair to just party every night, Bret Hart so I can know what it's like to be a great athlete for once in my life. I am going to go with Andre the Giant for a couple of reasons. Number one, I absolutely hated the guy. All the stories I've heard, I just didn't like him. I thought he was a bully. But I would like to know what life was like for him to never be comfortable. Hulk Hogan says he had to fly on a plane with his head tilted to one side. That's got to be so excruciating because his head was touching the roof. I'd like to see life through his eyes and experience it through his body to see what that was like.
Chad?
Boy, this one was super easy. I mean, it would have to be Otis because he's with Mandy.
Chad for the win. Chad's just racking up the wins.
Are you serious? I'm being dead serious. Are you serious right now?
Oh my God. Okay. Whoever's with Alexa Bliss then, but he's not on TV. So yeah, it'd have to be Otis because he's with Mandy. Come on.
Good point. Yeah.
All right. Well, I took it a little bit different and you guys are going to laugh. Okay. I picked this.
If you say Hornswoggle, you're fired.
Who?
Hornswoggle?
Oh, no. This was serious. This was serious. Not always wanting to be in the limelight, but I like it every once in a while. You know, he wasn't a huge main eventer. He got his rubs once in a while. He was huge when we were growing up as shtickish. Hillbilly Jim. Honestly, Hillbilly Jim. Yeah, listen, because he was just he was in the upper echelon in the mid to late 80s, and he was just doing his thing. He didn't need a title. I don't need a title. He had the friends to carry him throughout. He had the life to party if he wanted to. Moving forward, he is now on Sirius Radio doing his own thing. He's still relevant in everything. If you look up Hillbilly Jim, I can drink every night like Ric Flair already. I'm not Val Venus. Trust me in that. I'm not going to be Manny Fernandez beating the shit out of people. So why wouldn't I just be a country bumpkin and just get the rub from people every once in a while, have my 15 minutes, and he wrestled midgets once in a while too, so why not?
All right. I guess. But you could, that's the idea of the question, is you could be any of those things. You're exchanging bodies with someone.
Right, and I'm all right with that. I don't need to drink every night. Okay. Chad's come over here before when I've still been a wreck from 3 days ago, so I don't need to be Ric Flair. That's for sure.
All right.
All right, let's move along. This one comes in from another great listener of the show, Bob Butterfuss. Do you think any of the bad 1990s gimmicks, Rad Radford, Mantar, the Sultan, the Yeti, Sparky Plug, Abe Knuckleball Schwartz, just to name a few, could work in today's wrestling? And he means across the board. Could they fight in AEW? Could they make a little bit of a ROH thing? Could any of them work right now?
Yeah, I'll go first. Absolutely. I think now's the time for that sort of silliness. WWE can be really serious and it can be really, really hokey. So can AEW. AEW's fun and it's very tongue-in-cheek. And they need to commit is the only thing. They can have any of those gimmicks in AEW, but they need to commit to them. And they need to not have Jim Ross pointing out how silly it is. Abe Knuckleball Schwartz broke the home run record and won the most Cy Youngs in the same season. Whatever, then just commit to it. Just say that's what happened.
He's hanging on my wall right now, by the way. I love him.
It's the Brooklyn Brawler.
No, it's not. It's Abe Knuckleball Schwartz. Jack,
Okay.
What do you think?
I got to go the totally opposite. I think they would be laughed at more. I think people would probably be more pissed nowadays for them pushing the gimmicks. Just because, okay, granted, kayfabe was dying back then, but it wasn't completely gone. There was more actual wrestling and stuff. I don't think it would fit today. I think it would be booed off the TV and out of the markets.
I think it would work a little bit over in AEW. You have the Jungle Express. Maybe Mantar could, come over with there. I don't know if Abe Knuckleball Schwartz. Right? Well, no, there's no baseball right now, so you can get anybody. Maybe Mike Trout would even want to go to Ring of Honor for a little bit. Who the hell knows? All right.
Why not? Yeah.
Next one is...
Gronkowski can win the 24/7. Anybody can be a wrestling champion.
Quick question: do you think a defense like someone from the defense, if they tackle him, if he has a carry or catches a pass or something, they try to pin him while they've got him down? Are we going to see some cross promoting?
Preseason.
Okay.
I would love to see something like that, something funny like that in preseason.
You can't have that shit in the NFL in regular season. It takes away from it. All right. Yeah. This one comes in from the fashionista of professional wrestling. Calvin Couture sends us a message. This one's going to hit home with John. What would happen if Bret Hart didn't sign with WCW in 1997?
Oh, wow. The more I have watched about the Montreal Screwjob and guys defend that they didn't know what was going on, and other people say, like Scott Hall, it was the perfect recipe for everyone to be successful and get out of bad deals. And he says what I said earlier, that nothing happens by accident. You're not going to show Bret Hart write WCW in the air. You're not going to show him spit a loogie in Vince's eye. You're not going to show him smash cameras and monitors. So I wonder about that. That is raised doubt in my mind. If he doesn't leave, we see, and I loved his stuff with Goldberg of all things, and that was a genius of Bret Hart. If he doesn't go to WCW, we see some of the best matches we've seen. We saw some great ones with him and Shawn Michaels, him and Stone Cold, him and The Undertaker. I think we've seen more of that taken to new levels. And God, do I want to go here? Maybe there's somebody there to talk sense into the right people, and Owen Hart is still with us.
This one's kind of hard because if the Montreal Screwjob doesn't happen, Bret wrestles a few more years through WWE. I think that would be the easiest thing. With Vince signing him to that huge contract and then not being able to afford it, I could have seen Vince pull a screw job on Bret and possibly bury him until Bret gets pissed off and quits.
I'm going to add this. Does Bret get injured, working in the WWE compared to what happened in the WCW? I don't know. It changes the landscape. This is over 30 years. It changes the landscape of wrestling then if Bret stays in the WWE and we find out that it's a work maybe 4 years down the line or whatever, and he mends with Vince, and now Vince has to ask him to help get rid of Stone Cold, or he has to help him to get rid of somebody, and maybe Bret turns corporate a little bit. So much could have happened, and I wish I knew that end of what we want to happen or wish happened compared to what we got. Because what we got was not Bret Hart.
No, was not.
No.
All right, the next one's going to make you guys go nuts as well. Our boy Jimmy Nuts sends in.
Yeah.
Jimmy Nuts from IWC, one of our favorites. He sends in, what is the best decade in pro wrestling?
Just very quickly. First of all, he's so lucky that we're all in quarantine, because my challenge to him is still out there. But I can't now because we're quarantined.
Your jiu-jitsu challenge. Make sure you let everybody.
Yeah.
Because it could be a beer pong challenge. It could be a thumb wrestling match. This is
whatever you want.
Oh, okay.
Beer pong, I do one bounce is allowed. I kill at that game. Whatever you want. As soon as this thing is lifted, Jimmy, you and me, you and I. The best decade. Go back and listen to some old episodes. I cover it. The best decade is today, right now, April 26th, 2020 is our date. This is the best time for wrestling, and I cover it pretty extensively because of everything we've seen and the fact that we know there are so many more things that we haven't seen that a brilliant wrestler will show us in the days and years ahead. We're living in the best time for pro wrestling.
Chad.
John, I got to say, I didn't know that you got your medical marijuana card until you're smoking with today. You got to. There's no doubt the 80s. The talent. Look at the talent that was through there. The original Horsemen, Magnum, Dusty, Rock and Roll, Midnight, all the Demolition, Heart Foundation. There's so much talent, so many good matches in the 80s. There's just no comparison.
I'm going to be the stupid PC guy in the middle. I really am. I like both of your answers, but I'm going to stir the pot. My favorite part, or the best part, and I want you guys to agree, wasn't the Attitude Era. As much as many people want us to say that, I don't think it was the best part of pro wrestling. Maybe the best part of entertainment with the shticks that they had going on. But if we're going to look at pro wrestling, that's where I agree with Chad for pro wrestling aspect. But what's to come with the NWA here, the ROH, the MLW, OVW, Impact, with the set territories that we have now? That's why I'm on both of your pages. I really am. But I will say it's not the Attitude Era.
I just want to add two things very quickly. Not the Attitude Era. I'm going to agree with you, Mark, simply because while it was fun, I've said this before, bell to bell, there wasn't a lot of great stuff. I'm a big fan of The Godfather. I thought he was a lot of fun to watch. Val Venus. Name a Godfather match. Name a Val Venus match. They were showbiz. It wasn't great pro wrestling in the 90s, if we're being honest. To Chad's point, while I stand by what I say, these are the teams, tag teams, in the WWF in August 1986. Just August 1986. British Bulldogs are champs. Stud and Bundy, Sheik and Volkov, the Rougeaus, the Dream Team, the Killer Bees, the Hart Foundation, the Machines, the Islanders, the Funk Brothers, Rotunda and Spivey, the Moondogs are still there, Roma and Powers, and you want to count the Hillbillies. But anyway, what is that? That's 10, 12, 13 teams, whatever it is. 12, 14 teams. 14 tag teams. You legitimately have your champions, a top 10, and 2 or 3 teams on the outside looking in.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
And I'll more on that later on where I got that information.
All right, of course. Let's go to another fan question. And again, I'm going to say this, guys. It's awesome that you emailed us, but you just put your last name so I know who you are. You said, thanks, Russ. So this one's from Russ. If social distancing continues until who knows, how does it affect indie wrestling, and will some companies suffer enough that they'll need to close the door?
Chad, you want to go first this time?
Yeah, I think they're gonna. I think it almost has to, because they have to have, whether it's their monthly shows, their big shows. These guys are going to go that are on the indie scene that are deserving, I want to say, to move up to the big time. They're going to get snatched up by the bigger companies at a lesser value, just to be able to put food on the table and put money in the bank. They're going to have to do something. And if you got a prick like Vince McMahon, he's going to do what he's done. He's going to snag people up and let them sit at home. So I think it's going to hurt the independents more than anybody.
That's a great point, Chad. We're being honest. They're commodities. These wrestlers are commodities. And the best thing you can do, I guess, is buy them cheap, right? I mean, I hate to say it that way, but it's business. I'd like to think we're pretty good friends with the Plumbers who own IWC. They have tried to stay active on social media because they're smart people and they know how to continue to push their brand, and they get us to watch. They did a recap of a show from 2003 where the owner of the company kind of did what we're doing now with a few other people, and they showed a card from 2003. That was a lot of fun because we saw some names that you would see on TV now. I won't get too much into that, but what does it do for them going forward? Independents like IWC and Justin Plummer, they're smart enough to keep this thing going for a little while, but for how much longer? That's a tough question. I don't know. Hopefully, and this made us miss it even more, right, Mark? We're watching.
Oh, without a doubt.
While it was fun, we're like, we can't wait to go back.
Well, let me stir the pot then, and I know and we'll use IWC because all three of us has been there religiously. Does Plummer have to kind of have his talent do an empty arena and put it on 2-to-1 media and have it streamed at home, and maybe he just charges us $5 to watch it so he gets something to kind of stay alive? Because we know that he had to cancel Night of Superstars where he's going to bring in Jake and Arn and all these people. He's not going to be able to bring somebody in, but maybe put on 5 matches on a random Saturday from undisclosed arena somewhere in Pittsburgh. Have it be your basement, John, or Cheryl's Penitentiary or something, but just something. And this charge is $5. First of all, I'm paying. Here's 10, Plumber, because 2 of us are going to watch at my house. You know, it needs to happen, I think, pretty soon.
I don't know. I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you get away with that. I don't know how AEW. I'm glad. Listen, I tune in every Wednesday. I enjoy the show. I don't know how they're working right now, how they got by the whole essential business thing. I don't know, other than an $18.5 million donation to a super PAC, how the McMahons are still operating. I enjoy it. I don't know how this is essential. Would I love to see it, Mark? Absolutely. Do an empty arena IWC. You've got my money.
With the IWC thing, the thing that would concern me, I think that would be a great idea. But at the same token, if he has to rent a place and then he has to pay those superstars, would it be a cost-effective move for, somebody like that? And just to throw in there, these independents getting killed. What about the extreme midget wrestling? I mean, they're short enough as it is.
Oh,
God. All right.
WrestleMania 1 was a gamble. It's a gamble.
You were there.
It was a gamble. I was. I told you that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there. I was at the card before that too, on March 17th. Did I ever mention that one too?
No, never.
March 17th was actually better than WrestleMania. We'll get into that sometime. Now's not the time, but we'll talk sometime.
All right, we're sticking with IWC as we get a question or a comment or a hope or something. Elijah sends in, the Man Dime as we know him, he sends in, hey, I want you guys to book an IWC event and give us 8 matches, just using the current roster. So I asked him, I said, so we can't bring anybody in. So you guys know kind of the current roster. All 3 of us we're going to do it 6 first of all. How about we just do 6 matches, each of us do 2 matches apiece. Chad, you can go first with this. And wait, let me put it stipulation. Once the person is used, they cannot be reused. So you get first pick. You get 1 match, John gets a match, I get a match, and we'll do right through it again.
I'm going to say Jackson Argos against Jack Pollock in steel cage match, where the only way to win is, the old-fashioned way, through the door.
All right, you stole my shit. I'm going to go Jimmy Vegas defending the IWC Championship against, I was going to say Pollock. Can't do that now. Jeez. The Country Hammer. Okay, defends against the Country Hammer. It's a good big man match filled with lots of clotheslines and power slams. Vegas, being kind of on the back end of his career, looks like he may lose the belt to this young guy. And just then, Justin Plummer comes out and costs the Country Hammer the match, aligns himself with Jimmy Vegas, and has a message for Jack Pollock that I haven't forgotten what you did to my wife, you dirty, rotten son of a bitch, and now the whole IWC is coming for you. Because I'll be honest, I was shocked they were drinking beers and watching. I know they were in different areas and in their own homes. I was shocked they were watching wrestling together the other night.
So Plummer's now out of this too. Son of a bitch.
Plummer is now Mr. Plummer.
You kind of stole I had this for a while. You kind of stole my thunder a little bit because, of course, you guys knew I was going with Ray Lynn defending the women's championship, and it's a match that's going to happen. And I want to see her defended against Queen Aminata, okay? So, in the same aspect, Jenny was going to come out and lay out Ray Lynn to say there's a new queen here and align herself with the real royalty of IWC, Queen Aminata. So we have Ray Lynn, Aminata, and now Jenny's out of it as well. So
that's pretty good.
Head over to, so now we have the Plumbers both with somebody, and maybe they're going to run roughshod over IWC themselves. Chad, what's your next match?
This is going to be a hair versus hair match. The Man Dime against Andrew Palace. And when the Man Dime goes to hit Palace with a chair, he gets nutted by the dime piece.
Oh, so the dime piece is out now too. Damn it.
And the dime piece after the match says, I don't want a shed, I want a palace.
Nice. I get it. All right.
Twice now you've stolen my thunder. I was going to use the Man Dime. I had two brilliant matches, and I can't use either one of them. One of them was going to be a jiu-jitsu match between me and Jimmy Nuts, but I'm not on the roster right now, so that's the stipulation.
Right.
Then I was going to do the Octopus against the Man Dime because I think that would be unbelievable.
Gresham's not on the roster. No.
Well, okay. So he's not on the roster now.
He's not on the roster.
Right. We can't be brought in. Okay. Damn it. All right. Let me think here. Mark, if you want to go ahead, give me a minute, if you don't mind.
I'm going to have the tag team championships being defended as the Regulators, LaRusso and Chuck Sampson, are going to take on Bulk Nasty and Xander Gabriel and Steak and Eggs. And the main event is going to be there, so you know this match is going to get down and dirty. Okay?
All right.
And then finally, Chest Flexor and Corey come out at the end, and CJ Sensation becomes the promoter for the night because Plummer has now been taken away. And quick count, the STDs are your new champions.
Wow. That's bad.
Not bad.
So
I can't.
I've just taken a shit ton of people away from you. Good luck.
No, I got it. This isn't going to be a main event. It's going to be maybe a very good opening match, and it will forward stories. You guys are going to love this. Angelic versus RC Dupree. So we've been seeing these vignettes. We get the much more peaceful RC Dupree. You get Angelic.
He's a high stakes champion right now. So is it a high stakes championship match?
Yes, thank you.
So then I think you need a special referee, John, as well. And he's one of our friends from Philadelphia.
Well, first of all, the stipulation is that it will be like Nikolai Volkov and Corporal Kirschen. It will be a peace match where it's strictly scientific because that's who Dupree is now. He's a much more peaceful person. Angelic will kind of resort to his biting one too many times, and you get a DQ. And we're going to go really old school here. You get the IWC crowd starting a bullshit chant as Dupree retains his championship via disqualification. Special guest referee from Philadelphia. Who do you got in mind?
Dan Hooven.
Oh, I forget it. Yeah, he's from Philly.
And he's the former high stakes champion.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Okay.
That was that a bloodbath or what?
That
oh
was.
My God.
All right.
Good God.
So let's move along to a simpler question here from our friend from Kentucky, Ryan. When did you guys fall in love with wrestling, and what would you do if you weren't podcasting?
Go ahead, John.
When did I fall in love? I have two older brothers. We're all 4 years apart. I was 5 years old when the middle brother introduced me to a wrestling magazine. I talk about this with you, Mark, my very, very first episode of this show. He pointed out the wrestlers. He pointed out the moves and the holds and explained good guys and bad guys. Loved it immediately. It changed my life, and that's not an exaggeration. If I weren't podcasting with you right now, the reason I have that list of tag teams from August 1986 is because I'd probably be playing with my action figures right now. I have Terry Funk is kind of gone by this point, so it's more Hoss and Jimmy Jack. So I have Bob Orton filling in a 6-man tag team match later on today. So if I were talking to you guys now, I'd have gotten that card started by now. And of course my son plays me. I'm a 43-year-old man. I'm going to play by myself. It's ridiculous. Get real, guys.
Go ahead, Chad.
You know, I was kind of along the lines of John, right around 5 years old. I remember watching the WWE show that was on at midnight on the Pittsburgh channel. And of all things, I remember seeing Blackjack Mulligan pop Bob Backlund's head open with a claw and them Xing it out on TV and go into a distance shot. And I'm like, holy crap, these guys are really beating the hell out of each other. That was just like the moment that really got me into it. And then when, Mark, I think you were at this wrestling in St. Mary's when the Rock and Roll Express had lost the tag titles to the Midnight. They had a 2 or 3 falls match in St. Mary's High School. And just finally seeing those guys for the first time and working the crowd and how everybody got into it. That's really where I fell in love with wrestling. That's why those 2 tag teams are my favorite tag teams of all time. What would I be doing now? I don't know. Fishing?
My love came from my grandfather. On summers, we would go to my grandmother's house and spend weeks over there, just giving my parents break from the hooliganism that me and my brother were. Just loving wrestling. You know, I would come in from doing whatever all day, and my grandfather would have it on. I don't know if you would. It was a turn dial back then, but it was all the way up, so you could probably hear it. 10 miles away. He taught me everything I know about wrestling as a youngster. And what would I be doing if I wasn't podcasting right now? I don't know if you mean like right now as in a whole or whatever, but video games. If I'm not podcasting or talking to a wrestler, I'm playing video games. I am a man-child, 43 years old, and that's what I do. That's it. John, are you freaking taking a shower?
No! How do you confuse eating oatmeal with taking a shower? My wife just brought me, because she's sweet, she brought me a bowl of oatmeal and a cup of coffee while I'm talking to you guys.
Oh, nice. All right, let's transition into another question. Let's get something from somebody in the business again, and that's going to be from our boy from Philadelphia, Mr. Dan Hooven, former high-stakes champion. He wants to know, where's the first place we're going to go eat after this pandemic is over?
The first what? I'm sorry.
Of course, you're eating right now. Where's the first place we're going to go eat once this pandemic is over?
Okay. Chad, you got anything in mind? Do you want me to go first?
Go ahead, John, if you got something.
Yeah, as soon as this is over, we are going to my favorite Italian restaurant in Pittsburgh, in a little suburb, I guess, of Pittsburgh called Westview. The name of the restaurant is Di Pietro. Di Pietra, I guess, if you want to anglicize it. Just good Southern Italian comfort food. I grew up with it, and they do it really well. Their pizza, you guys, I grew up in a pizzeria.
No shit.
My dad was, yep, I did. My dad was the best I knew. These guys have some pretty damn good pizza at this place. Di Pietro in Westview, Pennsylvania. I can't wait for them to reopen.
Damn, this is a hard one because we don't have a lot of stuff around here. On the joking side, I'm sick of seeing Chick-fil-A commercials on TV, so I'm going to hunt a freaking Chick-fil-A down. On the serious side, probably Olive Garden just sounds good.
Mrs. Can Crusher and myself actually talked about this. As soon as all legal limits are lifted, we are heading down to Permane Brothers. That's it. We're jonesing for one. We're going to go to the number one, and just have a couple beers, sit in Permane Brothers, and if the English professor and his family want to join us, it's great. If not, I could give a shit. I could eat one by myself. Probably two.
I'm just going to be straight with you guys. I'm not trying to knock anybody trying to make a living. There's probably no sandwich in Pittsburgh I like less than a Permane sandwich. Just not a fan.
That's on you. I don't care.
All right.
You can, yeah. The wife's sitting in the living room right now, flipping you off right now. But nonetheless,
I love you, Kelly, but I don't like this.
She can't hear you. We have headphones on.
Good point.
Here's one from another fan. Okay. Megan Nelson sends in, once social distancing eases up and WWE and AEW are back to fan-attended events, how do you see the cinematic matches playing into pay-per-view events?
I'll take this since John's chowing on his oatmeal. I think it's going to go to, they're going to use it more for developing the storylines outside of arena or match stuff. I think they'll start using it for that because of how it's gone over now.
They've done it before. WrestleMania 12 was in Los Angeles. Roddy Piper wrestled Goldust, and they showed footage of OJ's Bronco.
Right.
What were the fans doing? I really have no idea. What were they watching? How are they watching it? It's possible, you know. It's happened before, even like WrestleMania 2, which took place in 3 different venues. I don't know. I guess you just watch what's on the screen. It's got to be boring, though, I would think, right?
Well, then she does add this, and she wanted me to make sure you guys were done talking. She says, to be honest, if you're spending $200 a ticket or whatever to go and watch pre-tape stuff, shouldn't you get somewhat of a refund? And to our IWC correspondent, Soup, kind of piggyback this question, so I want to give it to both of them. He kind of said, do you see it being used more in the future and everything? But what about Megan's idea of, you know, does ticket value need to come down a little bit now? Ticket cost, not value, but does ticket cost need to come down a little bit as well?
Ticket costs will not come down. You'll always have people willing to pay those prices to say they went to an event. And I was maybe thinking, well, maybe they just won't do it at WrestleMania. They'll do it at a lesser pay-per-view. They'll do it wherever the hell they damn well please. People will pay for it, they'll watch it, and they'll like
it. Vince McMahon with ticket prices, he's a cheap, tight old bastard, and unless he's blowing his own money, those prices aren't going to change. I see the other wrestlings having some type of fan appreciation, welcome back cards. I see the NWA doing that. I definitely see AEW having something like that.
Let's throw a little twist in. This one is from Marvelous Matt Bish from Marvelous Enterprises. Do you think managers, not valets, but managers, are still useful in pro wrestling? And then name the top 5 current managers of today.
Are they useful? Absolutely. There's a need for them. I think AEW has shown that there's a need for them. Top 5. I'm not even going to mention that, as Jim Cornette would say, baked potato with arms and legs that manages Brock Lesnar.
Probably.
Yeah, thanks. I don't know if there are 5 managers. Arn Anderson comes to mind because he does a brilliant job with Cody acting as a coach. We've talked about this where in an age of technology where you can film your opponents, he covers his mouth with the magazine or clipboard or something when he talks to Cody, uses hand signals. It's brilliant stuff. There's still a need for it. Are there any other managers? I don't think they've done what they could conceivably do with Tully Blanchard.
No, they wasted him.
Yeah, I'm just going to go with Arn Anderson as the best because he's the only one. But if you had 10 more, he'd probably still be the best.
Now, I want to throw this out. What is the definition? What are we going with between valet and manager?
He didn't write this down. He just said not valet. I'm thinking you're looking as like not Brandy, who's coming out with Dustin right now. Not. I think Vega is a manager. She's a business associate. I mean, she's not coming out like Precious, just spraying aerosol all over the place.
Yeah.
Or and she's actually getting involved in matches a lot. I mean, that's a manager to me.
Yeah, I apologize. I throw her name in there for sure. Go ahead, Chad.
Now, wouldn't you then, couldn't you include Brandy in that then? Because she does interfere in the matches and that.
Touche, she does.
Okay, so so we're kind of like just wide open on it. Definitely has a use. It breaks up the normal, screwiness by the heels or, it can benefit the faces if the heels have a manager. The number one right now, I would have to say probably Selena Vega, just because she's involved in his matches. She's a mouthpiece. Number 2 would have to be the Man Dime, just because she puts up with Elijah Dean.
The Dime Piece.
Dime Piece, I'm sorry. The Dime Piece. Other than that, I don't really know managers. I don't care for Brandy. She's just on there because of who her husband is.
I think Matt Bish was hoping we would vote for him, and he knows how we actually feel about him. So we are not putting him in the top 5. He could be 6.
Okay, well, I'll just go 3, 4, and 5 as no mention, and we can put him as 6.
Deal.
All right. If I'm being honest, he does a good job.
He does do a good job.
We hate him, and he draws heat by taking cheap shots at women, which still can't believe it.
You brought up the Dime Piece, and it's great because she brought up a great question as well. What are some of the big wins, lessons, new ideas that AEW and WWE have gotten from the empty arena programming?
Obviously, that fans are important. As far as the reaction goes, because we've talked about things like why would you book such and such when there's no crowd there, when that clearly needs an audience's reaction to see if it works or not. We talked about Britt Baker and just the venom spewed at her by live crowds. But I also think the flip side of that is you work a little harder with no crowd there. Now it's a true television show as opposed to a live play. We've seen Britt change things, tweak things just a little bit so that it works better for TV than it does for a live audience. And she's not the only one. You know, we've seen that from some other wrestlers. I think some of the lessons you learn are that you do need a live crowd, but at the same time, it's taught them to work a little differently, work a little harder. And when the crowds do come back, you're going to see these little tweaks work even better.
Everything John said, the working harder. To me, what they're learning is the people who have more of the it factor, that, you know, don't just go around arguing with the fans, you know, little things like that. The people who can, you know, make stories where there's not stories. You know, Britt Baker, Tony Schiavone, and the Starbucks thing is hilarious as hell to me. Chris Jericho and the commentating, it's all great stuff.
MJF, got to throw him in there too, because we were watching Wednesday, and he's like, we're going through a difficult, unprecedented time. My wife's paying attention, and my son's paying attention. I said, guys, this is a work. He's totally taking us for granted here. This isn't serious. And then he's like,
Chad looks shocked.
MJF hasn't been seen on TV. What's that?
Chad looks shocked that it's a work.
Yeah, I knew that it was going to be something about him. So, yeah, they've learned to improvise and use what's going on right now to kind of tweak some things. And I think they'll continue to do that once the live crowds come back.
John, you know, I've known you for a long time. I have a lot of respect for you, buddy. But, you know, I got to say, I don't appreciate you questioning MJF's injury. That's career threatening. I mean, it could be life threatening. Did you see his arm?
Jesus Christ.
So danely propped up there. I mean, that hangnail could kill him, and he wouldn't lie to us. I'm genuinely concerned for his health.
John, this next question is anonymous, and it's directed to you. You mentioned last week on the show that you got some beer in Pittsburgh, and you were sitting around having some, and I don't understand what this means, but who's going to drink a lot of beer, and what's the wrestler that absolutely loves beer? I don't know what that means. What?
So, yeah, last week. Did I mention that I got beer last week?
Yeah.
Because I didn't. Oh yeah, I guess I did. I'm trying to think when I got beer. Yeah, a friend of mine, a couple, husband and wife, opened a brewery here in Bellevue, just outside of Pittsburgh. And we haven't gone anywhere. We have taken this lockdown very, very seriously. We have not ordered out, and I finally had a couple of growlers delivered, and they were good. The one is called This Is Amber Ale or something to that effect. It's fantastic.
But what wrestler absolutely loves beer?
Stone Cold?
I guess it's this guy?
But we don't know who it is.
Well, I guess you'll have to wait until you see the thumbnail then, huh?
I guess so.
Okay.
Is there something you're not telling me here?
Clearly there is.
Okay.
You had your wrestlers propped up by the growlers, and you're like, who loves beer? And the wrestler.
Oh. That was my Brutus Beefcake doll.
Right.
Well, how the hell did you get a hold of that? I didn't take a picture of that. Motherfucker.
All right, moving on to a serious question. This one's from our boy Colin Maines. I haven't seen him in a long time, but he sends in the question: do you think that the wrestling business will recover after WrestleMania 36 and the Rousey comments, after both seemed kayfabe being dead and never being able to come back with that?
I think the business is a business. It's never going to go away. The WrestleMania thing, everybody recognizes that it was Vince's ego is why WrestleMania even happened. I mean, you got to look no further than Roman Reigns pulling out for health reasons, and you don't hear jack shit about him. What was the other part, Mark? Sorry.
And because of Rousey's comments as well, how she's just been blowing up everything.
I think it's just going to – something's going to happen if she comes back because, you know, Vince will take her back. There's going to be problems. Whether it's Nia Jax or somebody's, there's going to be problems with her.
The business isn't going anywhere. It's been around. Wrestling, as Ted DiBiase said, was one of the very, very first things on television. We love it as Americans. We love it across the world. It's not going anywhere. The Rousey thing is a total work. You'll see her in the ring again. You'll see her against Nia Jax. And to their credit, I like it. I'm not mad at them for it. I'm glad that some wrestlers still want to make us believe.
Next, which I completely agree with John on that one, Chad. Sorry. The next one is from our buddy, the NWO official, Mr. Jared Fritz, Rough Life. Jared actually sends in 3 questions, and I know we're a little bit long, and this is going to be a longer episode, but these are great. These are great questions, and we're going to answer them individually, questions-wise. So number 1 from Jared Fritz from NWA. What, in your opinion, defines a good match?
First of all, just because he works for the NWA, he gets 3 questions?
He was on the show. He was on the show too.
I'm aware. All right.
You get questions all the time, so he can get 3.
All right. What designs a great match? Boy, a great match. You have 2 or more, 2 teams, 2 individuals that can work, that have good body language. Who can use their eyes to tell a story, who can use facial expressions and fan interaction. I think a referee is very important, and that's why Joey Marella may be my favorite. Tommy Young, too damn much. Joey Marella just called the damn match. He counted. He asked if somebody wanted to give up. He checked for chokes. He called for breaks. He didn't bounce in the air after a move. Tommy Young was way too much. The referee is very, very important. I guess, that about sums it up. Good storytelling, body language, eyes, accomplished workers, and a good referee.
All right, Chad, you take number 2, because if he's going to go that long on all of them, Chad takes question number 2. In the time of social media, do you believe the presence is actually hurting or benefiting wrestling? With everybody on social media, do you think it hurts or benefits wrestling in a whole?
Oh, wow. Yeah. I gotta say it does. Honestly, it does both. And I'm not, just playing the fence with that answer. It hurts wrestling because information is out there and everybody can find everything from, like NWA tapings or, stuff, any other kind of tapings happening and spoilers getting out and then you don't care and stuff like that. The benefits of social media is things are more widespread when they're coming. Who's going to be there? What's going on in wrestling? To the point of, I just the touring and stuff.
Yeah, I completely agree with that answer because you're right. I think the three of us will say kayfabe's dead, and it's cool interacting with, Britt or Raylan or Seth Rollins or whomever via social media, but on the same aspect, people, what they're doing to Camille right now, finding her phone number and calling her, guys, you're just being assholes. Leave their personal life alone. If they want to interact with you on social media, all fine and dandy. Don't go digging for stuff. You don't need it, and stop being douchery.
Yeah. I could see calling Allison Kay if I found her number, but I wouldn't call Camille.
You're crazy. All right. His third question is, do you believe fans have become overcritical of wrestling, even though there's such a variety? And a quick answer, and I'm going to answer it as myself. Yes. The three of us have watched wrestling so much that it's almost like it's our job. Throw the podcasting away if we wouldn't be doing it. It's like our job. If somebody flicks somebody in the eye, they flicked them in the wrong eye because we know it's supposed to be the right eye. Oh, it should have been the left eye. But whatever. I think that we don't sit back and take it for what it is. A show, theater, entertainment, however you want to put it. We need to stop and enjoy what we have, because John brought it up that it's right now is his greatest decade. This is the new golden era of wrestling. We need to sit back and stop being such dicks about it, and the three of us are guilty of it all the time.
Yeah, people need to calm the shit down. It is entertainment. With that said, we have every right to critique it like we would a movie or a play or anything else, a book. But man, you get on social media, and there are people that are just vicious for no reason. You didn't like it. There's no need to be as nasty as some people are.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement here. There is no reason to be nasty. The thing that made wrestling great when we were all kids was the fact that you could just, if at least for that time, just kind of lose yourself into what was going on, and enjoy it for what it was. Russians versus USA, the big monster Bundy against the All-American Hero, whatever the storylines were. And I think our bitchiness about it and about things comes from we loved it as a kid, and we believed in it so much and enjoyed it so much that now when you get stupid shit like, the pretend grenade or somebody wrestling the invisible guy or something like that, it's just like, oh God, fast forward, skip this on part of the show.
This next question comes in from another fan, Tommy. We have 5 questions left, guys, by the way. 5 questions.
I was just going to ask you, how many questions have elapsed? How many questions remain? 20 questions have elapsed. 5 questions remain. All right, we're going Broadway.
Yeah.
Bring it.
Tommy, another email comes in and says, who or what is your Mount Rushmore of announcers? This is awesome. I have never thought of this until I got there. I'm like, damn, we always talk about it. So, Mount Rushmore of announcers. And if you don't know how many people's on Mount Rushmore, it's 4. All right? Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Chad.
I got to say, Bob Caudle, absolutely loved him. Jim Ross, earlier years. Gordon Soley, and gosh, a 4th one. I guess I'm going to throw an odd one out here, and I'll say Magnum TA for the time that he spent after his accident.
Nice twist.
Gorilla Monsoon, number 1, Gordon Soley, Jim Ross, and Vince McMahon.
Okay. I have sporadic low of you. Gorilla Monsoon, definitely. Jim Ross, Bobby Heenan, I'm throwing in there. I think those 2 are the boom boom. And did you say Vince McMahon, John?
I did.
Holy.
Vince was brilliant. No, Hate him all you want.
No,
he could sell the shit out of anything when he did commentary.
And just because I said this, John, to you, I don't know if it was this past Wednesday or whatever, I've always loved Shivani. And I think he's just making it again. So, Gorilla and Jim and Heenan and Shivani are my four. I love those guys. So, good question. That kind of shocked me when it came through.
Great question.
All right, this next question comes from our boy, OPW official Daniel Spencer, and the host of the Ringside Podcast. This is a good one. We talked actually earlier this week about this. What match were you the most emotionally invested in? Crying, angry, hatred, pissed off, whatever. What match were you emotionally invested in the most?
Of all time.
Oh, yeah, no, of yesterday. Yes, of all time.
Just yesterday's matches? Boy, yesterday was... Now, Ultimate Warrior versus Macho King Randy Savage, WrestleMania 7 retirement match. I believed it. I thought one of those guys was done. I thought they'd made a decision. Like, I've made enough money. I want to get on with my own life. I don't want to wrestle anymore. I wasn't a huge Warrior fan. I was a huge Macho King fan. The thought that either one of them wasn't going to work anymore really, it hurt. It killed me. I hated to see Macho Man get pinned with one foot on his chest after that career, but it was brilliant. It was so beautifully done. A guy that's had all these accolades and success gets beaten with a foot on his chest. Sherry losing it because now she doesn't have a protege, or she can't manage anybody anymore. She doesn't have a stable left. Elizabeth coming out of the crowd, clearly overmatched by a multiple-time women's world champion, so she just grabs her hair and throws her out of the ring. Mark, you and I watched that together. People in the crowd were crying.
Yes.
I was emotional, too. I still get emotional. And for a while, it killed me that I thought for sure Macho Man wasn't coming back until Jake the Snake wrecked their wedding, and then that pulled him out of retirement.
This one is absolutely easy one for me. The Bret Hart, Chris Benoit, Owen Hart tribute match after Owen passed away. Just thinking about him, getting a little bit choked up because those guys, they gave it their all for the right reasons for somebody that they loved, and you seen how they were after the match. They were just exhausted mentally and physically.
I don't know if I can rank them like you guys do, because first of all, I've had way too many concussions, and I barely remember what I did last week, and the wife has given me a thumbs up on that. So when it comes to my shrunken brain right now,
it's the beer.
It'll probably stick is brother versus brother, which happened recently. Emotionally invested in Cody against Dustin. That match, I didn't know it was going to go. The bloodbath that it was, that being probably one of the biggest matches that company is going to have, and it was actually one of their first matches. And to build off of something like that for AEW, I thought that was pretty emotional for me. Horrific. It really wasn't a match. It was when I had 20 guys sitting here and Mom was alive and we got word that Owen passed away. I mean, we could make this kind of a story, podcast within itself, but the Owen match when he passed, that was rough on. You had 20 guys here literally crying, John, right?
Yeah, that was tough.
So that's where I am. We all kind of were like on sad ones. Did we have any that like really blew our minds that we were pumped about?
I ran around the house, and they didn't show the whole match, but just when Superstars came on the TV and Mean Gene Okerlund said, "Ladies and gentlemen, the new World Wrestling Federation champion," I thought, Ultimate Warrior, he's back. They've been pushing him against Ric Flair. And when they said Bret Hart, I was like, what the ever-loving fuck. I couldn't believe it. I ran around my parents' pizzeria because I thought Brett was done. He had 2 tag team titles, 2 intercontinental titles. Where do you go from here? There's only ever been one Mr. Everything, and that was Pedro Morales years earlier. I thought there was no way Bret Hart was going to be the man. And then when they showed bits of the match at the end, that he actually, Flair, who had never, ever submitted in his life, gave up to the sharpshooter, that was pure jubilation for me.
I got to go with the 45-minute Rock and Roll Express Russians match where Rock and Roll, their first match in the NWA, and they beat them for the tag titles. I mean, it was the little guy concept, the fighting spirit of the, Americans versus the communist bastard Russians and everything. And that match just really had you involved. And then the end when Ricky Morton rolled up Ivan Koloff and got the 3 and all those wrestlers come down congratulating them. That match was freaking huge because nobody had been able to beat the Russians. Not the Road Warriors. Nobody. Here are these little guys. They come in, battle, and then eke out a victory with a victory roll.
Mine is actually a local match. It was when Jimmy Nuts won the title. John, you weren't there. We had Sylvan. It was him against John McChesney. I didn't have a voice. The night that I didn't have a voice, and even the match before when it was the ladder match and everything, emotionally invested, and his return because I pushed Jason out of the way. Once I heard Jimmy Nuts was returning, Soup's brother-in-law just got pushed against a railing like I'm a tween looking for Jimmy Nuts.
Looking for Jimmy's nuts. What the hell, Mark? What? I swear to you, I knew you were going to say that match. I swear I was thinking that match, even though I wasn't there. I know what that meant to you.
Let's stay with IWC as we're on IWC. Johnny Patch, the Super Indie Champion, sends in a match. He wants us to pick 2 wrestlers in their prime to have them face off against each other. His example was 97 Shawn against 04 Eddie.
Holy cow. Where do you begin?
I'll take this one.
Go ahead.
AJ Styles and Chris Benoit.
In their prime, yeah. We don't have to do years. That would be unbelievable, John.
Boy, I kind of want to go to the Wayback Machine because I've been on this theme lately where I feel athletes from way, way back were maybe, I don't want to say just as good as they are now because athletes evolve. But there were some pretty amazing athletes. And while I'm not one for so much high-flying action, if I may give 2 examples, I would like to see maybe like an Argentina Rocca against like maybe an AJ Styles. Or maybe like a Ricochet even. That'd be a better example. A high flyer from one era versus a high flyer from this era and see what they can do. My other dream match for holds and moves and a little bit of power wrestling would be the middle of that 8-year run, Bruno Sammartino versus first title run, Bret Hart.
Okay, so moving along, Nick Lendl. We have to get from Nick Lendl. Nick Lendl does our entrance, so of course we have to have Nick Lendl on the show. Nick freaking Lendl also works at ROH. Nick Lendl.
Brilliant ring announcer.
Yeah.
The best in the business.
He wants to know, who do we think is going to have a breakout year, as in like who's going to be signed, who's going to be over this year, who's just going to be the talked about wrestler kind of this year?
Boy. Can I very quickly, can I just say this guy makes you believe in the matches he's announcing. He makes them seem like the most important thing happening in the world. I can't say enough about Mr. Lendl and how good he is at what he does.
He's a great family man, too. I always want to say that. He is a humble human being with his family. His wife and girls are freaking amazing. Guys, follow them online. They're hilarious.
Good dude. Such a good guy. Who's going to break out this year? I've talked about Thunder Rosa, even though she's the women's champion right now. I think we're going to see more from her. She was in Melina. She still is. She was in Melina stable. She was kind of second fiddle. Man, it didn't take long for her to kind of take the top spot. And can you say a champion is going to break out? I'm going to be bold. She's the first one that comes to mind. I'm going to say, even though she's champion, we haven't seen the best of her yet. She may well become a household name here very soon.
Chad, before you jump in, John, I have told you
for a long time
about her prior to you even knowing about NWA and who Thunder Rosa is. I've told you that she is unbelievable.
I agree.
Son of a bitch, I forgot who I was going to say. Revival.
Oh, good call.
Yeah, I think them getting out of WWE, no matter where they go, they're going to get back to what made them the team that they are. I can say the same for the Good Brothers, for Gallows and Anderson. I think both of those are just going to break out no matter where they go.
I'm going to stick with the NWA theme that John had, and as much as he's over already, I think he just becomes even bigger because the WWE dropped the ball on him, and he's doing some amazing things before this whole quarantine. And Aaron Stevens, Damian Sandow, those guys just he's known, but what he's going to do with the level of silliness and everything, I think he's just going to add him to the list. What do you want, John?
Tell the people what I'm doing.
I don't know.
Hand signal I'm doing.
I don't.
E-Y Drake.
Oh, so you get two. So you get two.
Yep.
All right.
I wanted two.
Last question, and then we'll take a break and wrap it up quickly because holy balls are we long. But Carrie, again, another great fan of Can Crushers without giving us her last name, writes in, you guys cover a bunch of wrestling from many different organizations. I want you to pick one person from the WWE, the AEW, OVW, and NWA to make a stable, then add a woman to be part of them and name it.
Wow.
Yeah. See why I took this one for last? This one is really cool. So, all right. And I don't care if we doubles up. It's okay.
Nick Aldis.
There's your NWA.
Cody Rhodes.
Pillage. All right.
Well, I'm picking one from each, right?
Yeah, all right, go ahead.
What was the idea? Okay. Nick Aldis, Cody Rhodes, and AJ Styles, and I don't know a whole lot about OVW, unfortunately, so I'm going to go with, Al Snow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and Charlotte Flair. And the five of them will be called Nature's Greatest Faction. That's the dumbest thing, but we're long on time here.
All right, go ahead, Chad.
Oh, Lord. Eli Drake, AJ Styles. I'm going to have to go with Al Snow was the first one that came up with OVW. I'm going to pull Selena De La Renta out of MLW and name the faction.
You don't have anybody from AEW.
My apologies. Lance Archer. And we're going to call him the Snowplows. I don't know.
Al will love that. Al will love that. From NWA, I agree. I have to take all this. All this is just amazing right now. It was between him and Skrull, but all this. AEW, I'm actually going to go women heavy. I'm taking Britt just because we haven't talked about Britt enough on this show. From WWE, I will have to take Adam Cole, baby. Yeah.
Yeah.
From OV-Dubs, I don't know. There's a few that I really like. It could be either Justin Smooth. It could because he could be the big man. Actually, yeah, I'm going to take Justin Smooth. And the woman will actually... Oh, man.
Britt's a female.
Britt is a female. I know, but I didn't want... You guys both have Cody, for the love of God. You have Archer, nonetheless. Yeah, I'd take another AEW guy, and I will take Luchasaurus. And
I like that you have Britt and Adam together. That's nice. They get to travel together. And
right. And we'll call them the Smooth Operators because Justin Smooth is actually going to be the leader of this.
Nice. I like it.
Strictly Smooth. Yeah, Strictly Smooth. Yeah, nothing? No.
I like Smooth Operators better.
All right, nonetheless. All right, guys, this was awesome. The questions were amazing. I hope you guys had fun. But let's
well done, Can Crushers listeners. This was a lot of fun. Put us on the spot.
Yeah. We didn't hear you, Chad.
I said yes. This was a lot of fun. It's kind of changing things up a bit.
Yeah, so get more questions in. We'll answer more next month. But let's take a brief break, come back, and briefly talk about a few things because holy balls.
Hi, this is Bulk Nasty, and you're listening to Can Crushers Podcast. I'm not sure, just two guys cornered me, so here you go.
And welcome back to Can Crushers. This is time to wrap it up. I'm catching John with his pants down almost, but he knows how to race. Next question during the break real quick from Chad. Who was the great Mortimer? Harley Race. All right, John, I know you want to talk about, and we need to, Chad, because this idiot has finally watched 2 more Dark Sides of the Ring, and let's start with Brawl for All.
3, actually. Brawl for All, I have mad respect for Bart Gunn. He told guys he was going to whip their asses, went in there and whipped their asses. This was the stupidest idea. I know UFC was kind of gaining a footing there and was popular with fans, and they were trying to get that demographic maybe. But Vince Russo doesn't see what a debacle this was, that guys left with brain injuries and no one ever got over. And then Bart Gunn just got done dirty, but I'm Bart Gunn's new biggest fan.
So you're starting to like these dark sides. You're actually getting into them.
I loved them all from the very beginning. This was really well done because it brought us a lot of new information that we didn't know before.
This is probably the Brawl for All one is probably, well, the Benoit ones are amazing. But besides the 2-part Benoit one, the Brawl for All is my favorite one so far this year.
Agreed.
Yeah. Have you guys watched the Dino Bravo one from this week?
Of course we did.
Yes.
Well, I'm sorry, John. Have you watched the Dino Bravo one?
I did. I watched it this week.
I absolutely loved it, and the information was great. But the one thing that I didn't know that what presumably led to his death was his involvement with the cocaine industry, because he got so big with the contraband cigarettes.
Yeah.
That was new info, and that honestly explains it a lot more.
I enjoyed hearing a lot about his company in Montreal and the talent that came through there. I guess we all sort of knew it, but to see it all together, it was a pretty impressive territory. Andre the Giant, Rick Martel, Dino Bravo, the Rougeaus. That I enjoyed that part of it, you know. And his daughter, I could listen to her speak French all day.
So another person you're hitting on.
She's taken. She's spoken for.
Oh. I liked the Dino one, and I just say liked because it was a lot about, and nothing against it, it was a lot about his organization. And in the last 5 minutes, like the last 5 minutes should have been a half an hour. They were like, oh, it was the Mafia, it was the Indians, it was John, it was Chad. Mark maybe drove up and did it. Oh, my God, let's think about this. Okay, bye.
I agree.
The last 5 minutes gave me a headache. If they would have drawn that out more, it would have been great.
I agree. It was a lot of his wrestling career, which is very cool, and then they just crammed all the conspiracies into 5 minutes. Yeah, I agree. I also watched Moolah.
That's bad.
Yeah, I'm not going to say I don't. Here's what I love about these documentaries, and I said this last time, is they present the information and allow you to make your own conclusions. I will not use the word pimp. I don't believe that's what she did. I will say she turned a blind eye to things. I will say she maybe even encouraged things. I don't get this organization that's trying to save her name from what? I don't know. You know, I don't know the name of the Save Moolah Foundation or whatever the hell it's called. Save her from what? I mean,
I have it. It's called a bank. Save Moolah. I put all that in the bank.
Okay. She was an opportunist. She was a terrible wrestler. I'm sorry, terrible. She held women's wrestling back for the better part of 40 years. She just happened to be one of the first, I guess, and she trained people and booked them and was their agent, but she was terrible. She didn't want anybody to be better. One of the brilliant things Vince did was recognizing Wendy Richter. And tell me, as a kid in the 80s watching WWF, it was Hulk Hogan and Wendy Richter. They were Superman and Wonder Woman. They were married as far as I was concerned. And they had the respective titles in their divisions. And Moolah, being what she is, somehow maybe, talked Vince into getting the belt back. I understand there was a contract dispute. Wendy didn't want to sign right there in the spot, so Vince said we're changing the finish. I do respect Wendy Richter in that she said she'll do anything for the business, and I think she's still kayfabing us. The whole crowd was chanting Moolah, Moolah at the Spider Lady while she was wobbling her ass around the ring. Everybody knew it was Moolah except Wendy Richter. Wendy, come on. We're all a little smarter than that. Don't lie to us. Still love you, Wendy. Once Moolah was out of the picture, we saw what women were capable of doing. It's not to say there wasn't any good wrestling, women's wrestling. You can go back and watch the Jumping Bomb Angels. You can watch Princess Victoria matches. There was some good stuff. Moolah matches were trash, and anybody that followed her style was just boring to watch.
Chad, you got anything?
Yeah, I just want to totally off of that stuff. For any of the listeners, the families out there, condolences on the passing of Scott Boland and Joe Pedicino. Joe Pedicino was known with Mid-South Wrestling, great commentator for many years. Scott Bowden was wrestler manager Mid-South. He also has some podcasts out there, a lot of great stuff out there. Condolences to families. Great loss to, the wrestling world. Both of them way too soon. Scott Bowden very suddenly. He was only 47 years old. So it kind of rings a bell.
Yeah.
When I'm 47, getting ready to turn 48. But, check out their podcast, check out YouTube, and look at some of the material. Great classic stuff.
Before John jumps on and says his last shtick, guys, you saw that I posted it, that a new addition to Retromania has been added to the roster, and I can't wait to get it in July and play with it. This is the first time he's ever been in a video game. I searched it up. I actually listened to him tell us is Nikita Koloff, the Russian Nightmare, has been added to Retromania. I'm so glad I pre-ordered it already. If this doesn't make you want to pre-order a game for Switch or Steam right now, the other two consoles, Xbox and PlayStation, you have to wait a little bit longer. But this is awesome. The caricatures is amazing within itself. I'm so pumped. This is going to be a great roster, and they're already saying they have some DLCs in the pocket as well, and they're going to keep everything cheap. I will continue to push Retromania, even though I've never played it. It just looks like a wrestling game that I'm going to have hours of beers and fun with.
And if nobody on the wrestling game side has seen, WWE is not producing their game for 2021.
Yep.
Interesting.
John, I know you're bringing something to the table today.
Yeah, there are two websites I would love fans to check out. I've checked them out extensively. One is Solie.org, just like Gordon Solie, Solie, Solie.org. I've been familiar with that page for a few years now. That has rosters of the WWF and NWA starting in August of '86, which is how I knew all the teams that were there. It's not perfect. Like, I knew, for example, Ted Arcidi was still wrestling in August of '86 in the WWF. He's not on the August '86 roster. So, Mark, you know this as well as I do. When I play with my toys and I book a match with a certain very specific date in mind, and I run the card by you, and it was great, it was so much fun, and then you say, like, hey, John, whatever, Brett actually lost the belt 6 days before that couldn't have happened, I lose my shit. Now the whole world, the universe is crumbling in on itself.
Right.
Because of this horrible inaccuracy.
This is true. This is unbelievably true.
So I discovered this, and I looked to see who was where exactly when. It has title histories, rosters, some cool interviews. It's a very cool page, Solie.org. Another one, and this one really blows my mind, historyofthewwe.com. This has, as extensively as possible, every single card you could possibly imagine that runs from the 60s, maybe through to today. I haven't checked out any recent stuff. If you attended that card in St. Mary's,
with Sweet Lou Marconi?
No, you guys are talking about the Rock and Roll Express in St. Mary's.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the Steel City Wrestling that was in Ridgeway.
Beef Stew Lou.
Yeah.
Was he Sweet Lou or Beef Stew Lou at the
time?
Both. Anyway, it's on there. I mean, cards I attended, I've talked about this before, at my local church in Brooklyn on a lawn is on this page. And it's not just WWF. NWA is on there. It's divided into arenas. It's really amazing. If you went to a card and you're trying to remember, man, what were the matches I saw? It is on there. Some of the things I've discussed on this show where I'm looking for a match I saw or a history of something, I go to this page and I find it. Historyofthewwe.com. It's pretty incredible. And it again, breaks it down by arenas. You can check the Rosemont Horizon. You can check, anything, any city. I can't stress this enough. It is so detailed.
Chad, anything else?
It's fun.
Continue to be safe, guys. Hopefully this stuff is starting to wind down.
Guys, you can check us out on, all the podcast outlets. iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, the list goes on. It's over 150. Wherever you listen to podcasts, we're there. You want to reach out to us to get into the next Ask Can Crusher show. It's cancrusher69@gmail.com. All of our social medias are at CanCrusher69. That's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Head over to our website. You can reach out to us there. That's all over the place. You know, it's cancrusher69.wixsite.com/cancrushers. You'll find us there. And we'll be back on Wednesday for another great spotlight. And we have, I'm going to release this because you both will be surprised that I have an interview in the next couple of weeks set up with a wrestler from Singapore.
Wow. We are worldwide.
Yeah, right? I don't know how the hell they find us, but thank you for listening.
We're awesome.
Yeah, we are awesome. But remember, guys, we had fun doing this. We really did. Shout out to all the wrestlers from IWC, NWA, OVW. Where else? What else sent us? Matt Bish, all our fans for sending us questions today. This might be up there with one of my favorite episodes, guys.
This was a lot of fun, for sure.
Definitely a good time.
All right, guys, remember, just because you're trash doesn't mean you can't do great things.
It's called a garbage can, not a garbage canal.
See you Wednesday.